Hello, welcome. My name is McCall, and I'm glad you're here in this space. We are going to go through a restorative practice today. So if you've never done restorative yoga, here are some things to keep in mind. In a restorative practice, we will utilize props, such as a bolster, so resembles basically a big pillow. And then we have blocks as well, so kind of looking like our little bricks. And they come in different heights, so kind of keeping that in mind too. So that's what we're going to use today in this practice. If you don't have maybe a bolster in your home, if you can look and maybe see if your couch, if you have like a couch cushion that maybe can be removed from the couch cushion, or maybe a pillow that is a little thicker that you could utilize in your home. And if you don't have that today and you just want to still go through the poses, know that that is okay, that you can do all of these poses today. And I'll show you and kind of cue you through that if you don't have these resources with you today. Now, with a restorative practice, it is meant to be a practice to help us when we think of stress reduction. So we aim to take all tension off of the nervous system. So we look at triggering your parasympathetic nervous system, which helps promote relaxation. So that's what the deep conscious breathing does and the supported poses do. And the restorative practice is really nice when we think of if we're coming back from an illness, if we're coming back from an injury, if we need to maybe take time just to seek mental clarity. And it's great for us when we think of improving digestion, improving our sleep, improving flexibility, and pulling some tension away from the muscles. The benefits we could go on about those, but those are some that we can list today and say. So with that being said, find yourself in a seated position to start. So whether that is seated in an easy pose, or maybe you're sitting on a bolster, sitting on a block, finding a seated position to allow ourselves to start here. And we'll just go through a little bit of grounding, and then we'll start to transition down to the mat. So as we take this time to ground, finding that hand placement that feels best for you, whether it's palms facing up towards the sky as the back of the hands rest towards your thighs. So being open to receiving guidance, light, blessings. Or maybe you take the hands to face down towards the knees for a little bit of grounding, a little bit of centering. Or maybe we take the hands to the abdomen or to the heart, or vice versa. One hand to the heart, one hand to the abdomen. You get to choose. And once you have your hand placement, we start to take note of the space that we're in. So maybe listening in for the sounds that are around you. Taking note of the temperature of the room or space that you're in. Noticing any lingering scents in the room or space, or upon your clothing or skin. And then starting to turn in towards the body. How are you physically showing up here today in your practice? Is there any pain, any pressure? Areas that maybe you're speaking to us right now? And then turning inwards, observing your mental state or state of being. So how you're showing up mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. Observing any thoughts or feelings that arise here. And then setting an intention. How do you hope to feel upon leaving here today? What do you hope to gain in the mind and in the body from this practice? And then bringing it into some breath awareness. Observing your own natural breathing here. And taking a nice big inhale through the nose. And sighing it out. Taking a nice big inhale through the nose. Sighing it out. Take a nice big inhale through the nose. And sighing it out. Returning to your normal breathing. And then starting to bring some awareness back to the physical body. By wiggling the fingertips, wiggling the toes, allowing the body to sway, the head to nod. Whatever feels best. Maybe blinking the eyes open here, but maintaining a softened gaze. Now we're going to start to transition down to the mat for our first pose, where we're going to see a basic relaxation pose. So if you have a bolster, you're going to be placing the bolster under your legs. If you don't have a bolster, you're going to be seeing what is called a corpse pose. So if we find ourselves heading down to the mat and you do not have a bolster, allow your legs to maybe travel as wider than your mat, and allow the arms to come wider than the mat, and the palms and forearms aim to sky. If utilizing that bolster, you're going to place it under your legs so you have some support, and then lowering ourselves back down towards the ground. So when we're in our restorative poses, we get to spend some time here, anywhere from 3 minutes to 20 minutes, just taking the tension off of the body and allowing ourselves to turn back to the breath. So coming back to inhaling deeply and exhaling fully. Allowing ourselves to feel grounded, letting the body soften into the earth, where the earth is just holding us up. We'll start bringing some energy and awareness back to the body of wiggling the fingertips and the toes. Maybe letting the head nod from side to side. And then we'll slowly get to transition to our next pose. Now, if you find yourself in that basic relaxation pose and you're utilizing the bolster, you can start to draw your legs in and you'll feel that bolster coming underneath your, kind of pressing along the hamstrings. You'll get to lift your hips up and slide the bolster to come underneath your sacrum. So we have a bend to the knees, the heels and the toes get to press down towards the mat. We feel the hips are being elevated here by the bolster. And our arms can rest along our sides, or the arms can rest out to a T, or maybe the arms rest overhead, taking it into a supported breathing bridge. But finding a position that feels good for you and allowing ourselves to settle in. Now, if you don't have a bolster, all you're doing is drawing the legs in onto the mat, and you'll be in a reclined bridge instead. So your back will be flat down to the mat. Our legs are parallel to one another, and we're pressing the heels and toes into the ground as we bend from the knee. Breathing deeply. If you find lots of thoughts just starting to creep in as you're here in your practice, observing them as little clouds, allowing them to pass on by, not attaching to anyone or anything here, just letting them pass by and finding yourself coming back to your breath, becoming aware of the breath, allowing it to become deeper and longer. Starting to bring some energy and awareness back to the body here, wiggling the fingertips, the toes. And then we're going to go ahead, if you're using the bolster, as you inhale, lift your hips away from the floor or away from the bolster and let that bolster slide out along the side of you, allowing the hips to come back down flat towards the earth. Observing how our body feels. And then on our next exhale, we're going to slowly turn onto our right side into a fetal position. And then we're going to slowly start to raise up from here. Letting your head be the last thing to raise up, nice and slow, as we transition to your next pose. Now we're going to see a supported fish. And with the supported fish, we can look at utilizing the bolster. We can keep it, we're going to use a ramp actually today. So as we use our ramp, we're going to take the bolster, and that's going to be what we use for the ramp. What it's going to look like from the side is you're going to take one block and you're going to put it as your tall setting. So here is a tall setting. This is your medium setting. And then this is your low setting. So you're going to place a block, the tall block, at the back side of your mat. And then you're going to take the next block and it's going to be at that low setting. Your bolster is going to go over the top to create a ramp. Okay, so after you've gotten your ramp set up, you're going to bring your hips to the bottom of the bolster. Make sure my ramp's good. There we go. So then you're going to bring your hips to the bottom of the bolster, and then you're going to lower yourself down. Now the arms get to rest along our sides. Palms are facing up towards the sky. And then we can either leave our legs here in that reclined or supported kind of bridge position, or let the legs slide nice and long down our mat. Now, if you don't have a bolster at your home, maybe if you have a pillow here that you can just utilize, you can be maybe lower, flatter down towards the earth, allowing the pillow to go hot dog bun way. So then allowing yourself to kind of cascade over it. So you'll be closer towards the ground, but you'll still have a supported fish. Just opening up along the heart, the chest, the shoulders. And finding our way back to the breath. And then we're going to slowly start to draw our feet in. And as we draw the feet in, we're going to bring the heels and the balls of the feet and the toes to meet. And then allow your outer thighs to open up and transition towards the floor. So it's as if you're making a diamond with your lower body. As we bring the ankles, the inside of the ankles, aim up towards the sky. The heels and the toes are meeting right at the center. Imagining they're lining up at the midline of your mat. as the outer thighs lower down towards the floor. Now, if this feels a little tight along the hips here, if you have extra blocks handy, you can always place one block underneath each of the outer thighs to help support the legs, the hips to be up a little bit higher here. Or if you have rolled up blankets, you can always place them underneath for an additional contact, additional support to bring the floor closer to you. And then we're going to slowly start to release, allowing the knees to return, aiming to the sky. Heels and toes can lower down towards the ground. And then we're going to slowly start to turn towards your right side. So rolling nice and slowly away from that bolster. Coming off of it. And then we slowly start to raise back up. Now, as we raise back up, we're going to remove the bolster, remove your blocks. You can set them off to the side. We'll see those here at the end. And we're going to take it into a little supine twist. So we're going to lower down towards the mat. We're going to bring our knees and ankles to meet right at the center. And then you're going to take your arms out to make a T. Palms and forearms aim to the sky. Take a nice big inhale. As you exhale, let the legs travel all the way over to the right. Allow the gaze to look to the ceiling or to your left thumb. If your right outer thigh doesn't meet the floor here, you can place a block or a bolster underneath that right outer thigh to bring the floor closer. If the left knee or the right knee doesn't meet, like here in the center, you can place a block or a bolster or a thin pillow in between. Or if you have a folded up blanket, that can also rest between. As you inhale, bring your hips back to the center. As you exhale, hips can travel over towards the left, allowing the left outer thigh to meet the ground. And if it doesn't meet the ground, using a block or a bolster for support. The left and the right knee don't meet each other at the center. You can use a block or a bolster or a thin blanket. Hold it up here. Gaze can look to the ceiling or to your right thumb. And as you inhale, bring your hips back to the center, nice and slow. You can bring the knees into the chest. And then we're going to slowly come to your right side, where we'll get to come up one more time, nice and slow. Head lasting to lift. And we'll set up for your last pose. So the last pose we're going to see is Stonehenge. So we're going to take our blocks. We're going to put them at the bottom of our mat, so where our feet would be. And if I show you from a front view, you're going to allow your blocks to line up as if you're making a stone head fixture. And then you're going to place the bolster on top. Now, it's important that we don't place the blocks so close together that it's hanging off of one side, but also important that we don't space them so far apart to where then there's space in the middle where it like hangs down low. Okay, so setting up at the bottom of your mat. And then once you get set up at the bottom of your mat, you're going to let your feet go over it. Okay, so you're going to allow your legs to rest over the top of it. So your legs are lifted, it's a little bit higher. And then allowing the hands to come along our sides. Maybe they come out to a T, maybe they go overhead, maybe they see cactus arms resting to your abdomen, whatever you might need here. Now, if you don't have a bolster and blocks, if you have a chair that you can just put your feet onto the seat, allow your legs to kind of drape over the seat, or a couch cushion. If you go along the side of a couch cushion, lay on the floor and let your legs swing up high, or utilizing the wall, allowing ourselves to see legs up the wall here at the end of your practice. Okay, so finding that position, and maybe for you, maybe it's just a basic relaxation pose and you come back to corpse, allowing your legs to be wider than your mat and the palms and forearms to aim to sky. Finding the pose that fits your body now here. And then allowing the eyes to close or coming to that softened gaze. Relaxing the forehead. Softening the face. Relaxing the shoulders, creating space between the chin and the chest and the ears and the shoulders. Feeling the hips pressing to the ground. Taking this moment to hold space for you. And I leave you with these lasting words of your practice today. Holding space. We hold space for each other when we receive their feelings, thoughts, emotions, and actions in a loving, non-judgmental way. We hold space for one another when we listen. We hold space for one another when we become present. So as you take this time, maybe setting an intention for yourself of how you'll continue to hold space for yourself and others. Coming back to your breath. Inhaling deeply and exhaling fully. Inhaling deeply and exhaling fully. Returning to your normal breathing and staying here as long as you may need. Allowing yourself just to be. But I'm glad I was able to share this practice with you today. And I hope you continue to rest. Have a good day.